How not to behave, identifying and changing dark behaviors. In almost all our videos, we discuss how we should act and what behaviors we should cultivate. So today, I want to bring a different video to the channel, about how we should not act. I will be brutally honest and detail 10 dark behaviors that we must first recognize in ourselves and then work to change. You might identify with one or more behaviors or parts, but the important thing is to understand that these behaviors often function as personal limitations. No matter how much people try to seem perfect, we all have our dark sides. On social media, the grass may seem greener on the other side, but the truth is that no one is perfect, and we all have limitations. The key is to identify the behaviors and limitations that most impact your life and prevent you from achieving your goals. In a way, we always want to deny our flaws, weaknesses, and our dark side because society doesn't accept them, because we fear judgment, or because we feel ashamed. But when we don't recognize them, these personal limitations restrict us, preventing us from advancing and developing our true potential. These behaviors define the boundaries of how far we can go, regardless of how capable or talented we may be. Most of us know at least one person in our lives who has great talents, skills, gifts, or opportunities but doesn't seem to take advantage of them. Maybe, if you look at your life so far, you're wondering, have I made the most of my potential? By the end of this video, you will have an honest answer and, more importantly, you will be able to recognize, accept, and work to change your own limitations. But before we start, I want to ask for your help to ensure this video reaches as many people as possible. It's quick and simple, just like and share it with a friend who needs it. First behavior, bulletproof. Self-confidence is a positive trait and, when well balanced, becomes essential in our lives. However, having too much self-confidence might be one of the most dangerous personal limitations we'll discuss in this video. This happens when someone is so focused on their own ego that their self-confidence doesn't function as a beacon to advance safely but rather as an intense light that blinds them from seeing reality as it is. When someone's ego grows too large, they may end up seeing the world in a distorted way. This can be problematic because it prevents the person from recognizing their own mistakes or accepting different viewpoints, leading them to act in ways they consider safe but are actually limited and wrong. I've seen people who, by relying too much on their instincts, risked all their savings. Even after losing everything, they continued to believe they were right because they think they are always right. The problem with this behavior is that you not only risk your own future but also affect the lives of the people around you. When you don't overcome your personal limitations and can't realize your potential, believing that you are either incapable of improving or don't need to change your flaws, the people in your life lose along with you. It's not just your future that ceases to exist but also the future and lives of those you care about. Growing in life means taking responsibility, evaluating risks, and being ready to face the consequences. Excessive self-confidence can blind a person and lead them into fatal traps. This problem appears in various situations, such as politicians who think they are above the rules, lying and believing that the ends justify the means. It can happen with young people who can't accept the reality of failing a test. In the workplace, for example, this exaggerated confidence can cause conflicts and communication problems. If a person always thinks their ideas are the best and doesn't listen to colleagues, it can hinder their own growth and create a toxic environment, demotivating the team and making group work difficult. It also happens with men and women who risk everything they have and end up losing but can't see that this defeat is related to their inability to objectively assess the situation due to excessive self-confidence. A big sign that overconfidence is harming someone is the inability to listen to anyone's advice. When someone ignores even those who have achieved the results they desire and only listens to their own voice, they can easily deceive themselves, especially if they believe they are always right. Some people who think they are bulletproof talk so loudly that no one else can hear them. When someone is too confident, instead of being admired, they end up seeming arrogant and lose others' respect and admiration. Temperance, which is balance in all areas of life, from decisions to actions, is an important virtue to avoid this problem. To control this behavior in yourself, it is essential to see the situation as it really is and not overestimate your own capabilities. Recognize that we all can make mistakes. Self-confidence is necessary in our lives, but it must be cultivated in balance with other traits like self-control and modesty, otherwise, it will cause more harm than good. Second behavior, the oyster, not very confident. People who act like oysters are incredibly kind, treating everyone well and always ready to help, often putting others' needs before their own. Unfortunately, this kindness is rarely taken seriously. Because of this, they are frequently left behind, despite their generous hearts and genuine concern for others. This cycle of neglect can be exhausting, as they rarely manage to maintain reciprocal relationships. It's as if they view the world through foggy glasses, unable to see and recognize their true potential in the mirror. It's a frustrating situation, knowing you have potential and significant skills but feeling powerless to change your reality. The belief that your dreams will never be achieved stems from closing yourself off from the world. One of the strongest traits of these individuals is how they excessively blame themselves for mistakes or failures. Constantly sacrificing and blaming themselves for past errors can be emotionally draining. People who act this way tend to get stuck in past mistakes, which completely blocks their progress. It's challenging to imagine a future full of opportunities when you're focused on what went wrong instead of thinking about how you can improve your situation in the present. This leads to unfulfilled dreams and untapped potential, creating a cycle of frustration, discouragement, and diminished self-confidence. It's impossible to run effectively while looking back. We all carry emotional baggage full of difficulties, conflicts, unmet expectations, insecurities, abuses, and complicated relationships. Holding on to or repressing these feelings only allows them to take deeper root in your mind, making the burden unbearable. Therefore, it's crucial to learn to let go of this heavy emotional baggage. The key to change is being willing to face and heal these wounds, creating space to grow and finally start recognizing and believing in your own worth and abilities. When you start recognizing your value, you learn to open up to the world despite the challenges. It's essential to establish healthy boundaries to protect your self-esteem and ensure that your talents are not only recognized but also valued. By doing so, you can see yourself and the world more clearly, allowing yourself to achieve your dreams and reach your true potential. This change in perspective is crucial to stop sabotaging yourself and start building a life that truly showcases your capabilities and desires. Third behavior, the coconut candy. Some people give too much and do everything for others, turning what should be a balanced exchange of give and take into a situation where only one party is always contributing. This exhausts both the relationship and the individual. The coconut candy is known for excessive generosity. At work, they're the colleague who swaps shifts or covers for someone, the mom who organizes the neighborhood, the friend who lends money or pays everyone's bill. In short, they are always ready to solve others' problems, no matter the personal cost. So, what's wrong with having a soft heart? The problem is that these individuals struggle to set boundaries. Their kind and helpful behavior goes beyond what is healthy for them and for others. When someone is always the savior, those around them can become accustomed to and always expect this help. This creates unrealistic expectations in others, and when you try to change or start saying no, people immediately turn against you. Those who exhibit the coconut candy behavior cannot confront others when something is wrong because they don't know how to say no. They need to understand. Join our Stoicist journey at Buy Me a Coffee. Support with a donation or as a member and have a voice in our community. Every coffee fuels our mission to share wisdom. Be our pillar, make a difference today, and that sometimes the best way to help someone is to let them face their own struggles. This doesn't mean abandoning them but encouraging them to grow and become independent. Being kind is one thing. Being unable to set boundaries is another. Saying no is not selfish, it's understanding that taking care of yourself is as important as helping others. This behavior may seem good, but in reality, it is an enormous limitation because you end up living your life dependent on others' problems, commitments, and responsibilities, while your own priorities are neglected. If you find yourself always solving others' problems, helping irresponsible people, or wasting a lot of your time and energy due to others' poor organization or crises, it's time to accept that you are too soft and start thinking more about yourself. Try to find a balance between helping others and taking care of your own needs. This will not only make you feel better but also make your relationships healthier and more balanced. If, during this process, some friends or family members become upset and choose to leave because you started saying no and setting boundaries, remember that maintaining dysfunctional relationships can cost you much more. Saying no doesn't mean being negative, but rather valuing and respecting your own limits and needs. It's important to start being generous to yourself. Fourth behavior, the critic. You've probably encountered someone extremely critical, whether at work or at home. These individuals seem to have a knack for criticizing everything and everyone, always ready to point fingers and make harsh or disdainful comments. At work, no project is useful, all ideas are a waste of time, and, in the critic's eyes, few people truly want to work. But at home, this personal limitation becomes even worse. Nothing completely satisfies these individuals, and the complaints start as soon as they walk through the door. Imagine the scene: if the kids wash the dishes, the overly critical person asks, "Why didn't you scrub the floor?" If the wife makes lunch, the critical husband asks, "What about dessert? Didn't you think about dinner?" If the husband gives a gift, the critical wife asks if there's something better. Nobody can please them, and unfortunately, they often fail to realize how their criticisms affect others. In their minds, they are merely stating the obvious or trying to help. They don't see what they're doing or the negative impact of their words, and even when someone tells them, they don't understand. This behavior creates an oppressive environment where nobody feels good enough or appreciated. Every time you nitpick others, you undermine your own abilities. Being excessively critical can also reflect a problematic self-image. Critics often aren't as harsh on themselves, failing to recognize their own flaws while focusing on others' imperfections. This is not only unfair to others but also hinders the critic's growth and improvement because they only concentrate on the negative and ignore their own areas that need development. To understand the impact a critic has on those around them, think of a soda can being crushed with every unnecessary criticism. Trying to return the can to its original state is nearly impossible. Similarly, repairing the emotional damage caused by frequent criticism can be extremely difficult. If you identify with this limitation, consider the lasting effects your words and actions can have not just on others, but on yourself. Each criticism you make can paralyze you, preventing you from seeing what needs to be improved in yourself. Change starts with self-control. Hold your tongue instead of giving an unsolicited opinion, making a sarcastic remark, or complaining about something. Just as it's impossible to restore a crushed soda can, words once spoken cannot be taken back. Instead of focusing solely on mistakes, it would be better if these individuals learned to appreciate and celebrate others' successes and efforts. Encouraging people to do well can create a more positive and motivating environment, whether at work or at home. Being less critical and more balanced not only improves relationships but also helps create a healthier and more productive atmosphere for everyone. Fifth behavior, the iceberg. Some people are like icebergs, they seem distant and have difficulty forming deep connections or showing affection. This isn't shyness but a preference for remaining isolated and focusing on personal goals rather than relationships. This emotional distance can lead to a life without significant bonds, missing out on the richness of shared experiences. This way of living goes beyond a simple personal preference, it has larger consequences. As the French playwright Molière said, we are responsible not only for what we do but also for what we do not do. Ignoring the importance of human connections can lead to professional success but an emotionally empty life. It's like reaching the top and looking around to find no one to celebrate with. For those who behave like an iceberg, opening up emotionally is challenging but possible and beneficial. The first step is to understand the importance of forming bonds. This can begin with simple actions, like asking colleagues how their day was, showing interest in friends' concerns, or being present in important moments. Additionally, investing in the emotional bank accounts of others strengthens these bonds. This includes gestures of trust, understanding, and support, creating a solid foundation for lasting relationships. These investments act like a safety net, offering support during tough times. When you become more open and accessible, you may find that genuinely caring for others enriches your own life and contributes to your overall well-being. Breaking away from coldness and detachment can reveal a newfound capacity for empathy and affection, transforming how you see and interact with the world. ###6th behavior, the catatonic. Many people live without motivation, goals, or ambition, even though life is a privilege. This lack of energy can make days monotonous and difficult, as if we are merely dragging ourselves along. It's important to remember that passion and determination, essential for a fulfilling life, are not inherent traits. We need to develop them. Even if you are used to your routine, it's never too late to regain the enthusiasm and vigor for life. Our minds are shaped by our experiences, and even if everything in our history has led us to believe that dreams aren't worth pursuing, something in you knows this isn't true. Otherwise, among so many videos, you wouldn't have chosen this one. It's never too late to awaken passion and discover new purposes. The first step is to understand the importance of living with enthusiasm and how it can improve life. Then, seeking new experiences, setting challenging goals, and dedicating yourself to personal growth can rejuvenate the spirit and increase determination. This is a challenge, but with the right support and a sincere desire to improve, even the most stubborn adults can learn to live with the same passion and determination we see in children. ###7th behavior, the steamroller. Our seventh behavior is demonstrated by dominant people. Dominant individuals are the first to take on leadership roles, which is a positive attitude. The problem arises when this leadership prevents others from contributing, centralizing everything around themselves. This behavior is as problematic at work as it is in any other group setting. A steamroller runs over people, whether by interrupting someone or making decisions that others have made, without regard for their space or feelings. When you impose your ideas without listening to others, you create an environment where people may feel undervalued and reluctant to contribute. The greatest limitation of this behavior is that the dominant person believes they are always right and 100% correct in all their answers. This damages any relationship because it undermines the equality and respect necessary for a healthy relationship. When you always try to control conversations and don't let the other person express themselves, it causes people to distance themselves from you. Those who remain only try to survive, creating many barriers to what they say and think, just to maintain some self-esteem and dignity. Remember that the world is not made up of just one person, everyone has something to contribute. Stoic philosophy values balance. Even if you are right, how you express yourself is as important as your decision. Being right or understanding the world more clearly does not give you the right to ignore others' feelings. It's crucial to respect, truly listen to, and value different perspectives. This not only improves your interpersonal relationships but also eliminates arrogance and the false belief that we don't need each other. ###8th behavior, the turtle. This behavior depicts one of the greatest limitations, fear of change. This limitation makes us only do what we already know because venturing into something new can challenge all our fears and insecurities. The reality is that life is not exactly what we expect it to be, it is what it becomes. Some changes happen through the choices we make, but most are beyond our control and will happen whether we are ready or not. The only thing we control is whether we choose to accept and adapt or reject and be overwhelmed. For example, many utility companies, like those for water, electricity, phone, and internet, have stopped sending physical bills and now send PDFs via email. If you don't adapt to this new reality by having an email, downloading the app, and using online banking, something as simple as paying a bill each month will be a hassle. Many of us are resistant to change. Turtles don't like to adjust and rethink routines they feel comfortable with. But if we continue doing what we have always done, we will get the results we have always gotten. The fear of the unknown, fear of failure, and anxiety about leaving our comfort zones are barriers that prevent us from accepting change. These fears can keep us stuck and outdated, preventing us from exploring new possibilities that could improve our lives. You cannot live the new if you only act in the old way. The most important thing is not whether change will happen, but how we will deal with it. It's essential to face fear and move forward. We need to see change not as a threat but as a natural part of life that helps us grow. When we accept changes with a positive attitude, we become more flexible and strong, which helps us have a richer and more fulfilling life. The secret is to understand that we are responsible for our own lives, including how we react to the changes that occur. ###Ninth behavior, the volcano. Think of a volcano. They are volatile. They erupt without giving much warning. People who act this way have outbursts of anger over something and boil inside. Lacking self-control over their emotions, anger, or even excessive enthusiasm, they act this way until one day there is a big explosion, affecting various people. Control over your emotions begins with what you feed your mind, and this reminds me of an old Cherokee parable that illustrates this issue well. It speaks of a wise, gray-haired Cherokee elder sitting and reflecting on life when his grandson sits next to him. The child is sad about losing a game, and with a slight smile, the grandfather says, "At this moment, a battle is being fought inside us. It is a battle between two wolves. One represents anger, resentment, superiority, selfishness, and the desire to win at any cost. The other represents compassion, humility, respect, generosity, and empathy." The child thought for a moment and then asked, "Grandfather, which wolf will win?" The grandfather thought and took a deep breath before replying, "The one you feed." Controlling our emotions is not easy, but this little story shows us that we have the power to feed them, and thus we have control over which emotions we want to keep and preserve in our lives. ###10th behavior, quick on the trigger. If we were in the Old West, being quick on the trigger wouldn't be listed as a limitation in this video but rather as a survival advantage. However, today, the speed with which we make decisions without thinking is one of the biggest self-sabotaging actions in our lives. Think about how much debt you've accumulated from impulsive purchases, how many arguments you've gotten into by speaking without thinking, how many bad investments you've made because you didn't evaluate them properly, or how many times you've broken your diet by opting for sweets too quickly. As long as you lack self-control and fail to restrain yourself, you will continue paying a high price for your impulsiveness. The key to overcoming this limitation is to keep your long-term goals in mind and think about the direction you want to head. This might involve making a detailed plan for your finances, career, and relationships, or simply learning to pause and think before acting. This control helps you achieve your goals and avoid regrets from thoughtless decisions. Most of us don't get second chances in life, but recognizing and accepting our failures can give us an opportunity for change. The first step is identifying one or two key limitations that are negatively impacting your life. If we control our actions and work to overcome these limiting behaviors, we can provoke significant changes in our lives. There is a story from Africa about hunters who captured monkeys using a coconut with a hole just big enough for the monkey's hand. They put a piece of fruit inside the coconut and attach it to a tree. The monkey, attracted by the smell, puts its hand in the coconut to grab the fruit but cannot withdraw its hand while holding the fruit. Even so, it refuses to let go of the fruit, becoming so obsessed that it doesn't notice the approaching hunter and ends up captured. Many of us act like the monkey in the story, clinging to our limitations and past problems because we are afraid or unwilling to face the issue. Overcoming our limitations is possible and necessary to make the most of life. Recognizing this helps us let go of the past and embrace the new. And if you've made it this far, comment gratitude. Now, to discover 10 burdens you need to quietly eliminate from your life, watch the video to your left. Thanks for watching.